What's up?
Hey,
Episode 8, we talking about hate.
I mean, could you have ever guessed? Or you look at your shirt. For the ones that are watching this.
Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate.
For the record, people probably don't even know who this is.
It's the Muppets, guys. I don't know their names, but
I used
the
to
critics.
know their names. I should probably know their names. I should have looked that up before.
You should have. I mean, come on, do your research.
Yeah, I know. It's in here, but it's lost.
Hold on, let me Google it.
Yeah, it's out there. Drop the names of the Muppet characters in the comments.
The Muppet critics.
Muppet critics. The guys that sit up in the balcony, like, those guys. People don't even know who that is anymore.
Well, I mean,
that's
maybe.
Circa 1980s, 70s, 80s.
That was when we were
that's what I'm saying. That's all I know who they are.
That's when we were little watching it.
Episode 8, talking about the hate.
The hate. And here's the thing. If you're on social media at all, with a side hustle, or if you're doing a fun podcast like we are, or putting your face out there for any reason, you're definitely going to get some hate. So you can probably relate to this. But even if you're not on social media, there's still haters in life.
True that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just easier to hide from them a little bit more if you're not publicly putting yourself out there.
I think that over the last 5 to 10 years, with the explosion of social media, with the explosion of social media, there's a lot of terms out there, keyboard warriors, and all your tough guys that sit there behind these 30-year-old people sitting in their mom's basement eating Cheetos, being Mr. Tough Guy. But there are actually communities of people that will troll people online, like these teenage boys that have nothing better to do with their lives that will come on lives, and this is a thing. So there is a growing body of psychological research going on with online hate and trolls. Did you know that?
No. So you're going to get behind the psychological science of it, and I'm
not. I'm not. I just say I've read some stuff. So here's an interesting thing. My wife has been in the social media eye. Well, both of us, but really you, me as a supporting role, her as the primary role, since 2011. Right?
Long time.
Yeah, I mean, did Instagram even exist then?
No. So what's funny is I downloaded the Instagram app. I think it came out in 2011. And you can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. But so I think it came out around 2011. I downloaded the app at the end of the year in 2011 because it was known as a photo app, an editing app.
Right.
And so I would take my photos and try to filter them a little bit before I posted them on Facebook.
That's not that long ago.
No, it's not really. I mean, it
ago.
feels like a long time ago, but it's really not that long ago.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Instagram become explosive on the social media scene.
All right, so 2011, Facebook was still a baby. Instagram may not have even existed. Snapchat certainly didn't. Twitter was still in its infancy. So there was a lot of you've been around, which doesn't seem that long ago. It really wasn't. But I mean, things have happened. A lot has happened in the last decade.
I think the older you get, you're like 12 years is not a whole long time. But it's perspective for sure, right? So yeah, we've seen our kids have seen their mom and dad, their mom grow up working on social media.
Fair enough. So since the institution of social media into our lives, there has been I would almost argue a downward progression of how people act on social media as a whole. Now, there are pockets, you can pick this apart all day long, right? But it started out in its infancy fairly innocently. It was a way for people to share pictures that didn't live close, and your mom could see your kids growing up before her eyes when she didn't live by, or you reconnect with old friends from high school or whatever it was.
Right.
And then it just really took this spiraling out of control into a way for people to express their innermost hatred behind the comfort of a keyboard where there's no consequence for my action.
It's like all those thoughts you can now just verbalize without consequence.
Yeah, or filter. Yeah. So you don't have anyone sitting by you going,
probably not a good idea.
Or someone across from you that's about to bust you in your mouth for what you're about to say.
There's no consequence. So you just say what you feel in the moment because there's no consequence to what you're feeling in the moment. So you just say it. And
a lot of times feelings are absolute lies, and our feelings come from a place a lot of times of hurt. And what do we teach our kids all the time?
It's hurt people.
Hurt people.
And that's a hard concept because we all hurt sometimes.
Yep.
And so, it's just, what do you do with that hurt that you maybe that has been thrown on you that you've caused yourself. Maybe you're living a season of your life of one that you've created in regret. I don't know. But hurt happens to every one of us. So it's just a matter of what we do with that hurt.
That's fair. But what a lot of people do with their hurt is they get on social media and they try to hurt other people that they don't even know.
Because it makes it's like that insecure feeling of the bully, right? Why is the bully? Because they are insecure about themselves.
That's right.
And so it's manifested on social media, and it's a unfiltered, thought-based bullying that people don't have a consequence for.
Well, I could go a different way with it and say it's a way of indirectly, falsely trying to build yourself up as well. Like I'm
that's
hurting,
what I'm saying.
so I'm going to express this hurt by telling you that you suck and your face is ugly and blah 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 blah. Now I feel better about myself because I've gotten some of that. It's no different than what we teach with the kiddos. So like we noticed the pattern early on with the kids. One of them would come home. I'll just use the oldest as an example. Our oldest would come home, had a bad day at school. We didn't know that. Would come home, would be very mean and controlling to his little brother.
Yep.
And we started seeing this pattern where we didn't know why. Some days he was fine, some days he wasn't. And then we started putting it together. He was coming, those days where he was being a turd to his brother were the days that something had happened to him at school. And so what was going on was he was coming home and taking it out in the only way that he knew. He could control his little brother in a different way because he's bigger, stronger, older, all that kind of stuff. And so he would take that out on his circle, if you will.
Right.
What are you looking at me like that for?
No. I mean, it's true. I think
You're giving me a crazy look.
No, meaning like it's this aha epiphany moment of I think we all do that. And why would we think any differently with our kids? So they go to school, they have all these, maybe they're being bullied, maybe they just have a bad day. Yep. We chalk it up as adults. We just had a bad day and we're going to come in, we come in and take it out on the people that you love the most because
it's no different than a dad working outside the home, comes home, and he's just a tornado when he gets home because he's pissed off about all the stuff that happened throughout the day, and the family they take the brunt of it.
Yeah, they take the brunt of it because they are the ones that they're going to love them anyway. We love them regardless. So it's like their safe place of dumping. So once we realized that with our kids, it was like, oh, okay, we got our finger on a pulse that we maybe didn't realize before, that maybe something's going on that they really want to maybe not want to talk about, but eventually will come out.
Yeah, that we knew something was going on. And so we've really worked with the kiddos to be able to identify when you're treating your siblings terribly, it's usually because you're feeling terrible. Yeah. And why are we feeling terrible? Let's back into it. All right, somebody said or did this to me. Okay, all right, now that makes sense. Yeah. No one's judging you for that. Every one of us have been there. But is what you're doing actually leading to an outcome that you're seeking? And so we've had to walk back into the parenting game and go, hey, I understand why you're doing this. Do you? And now that they're a little bit older, they can see it and recognize it. Yeah. Now that we recognize what's happening, let's figure out the why behind it. And is the fruits of your actions producing... are your actions producing the fruits that you're looking for? Yeah. And the obvious answer is no. Right. So let's figure this out. Right. So I think it's kind of hopefully we're working on that in the parenting. I never had a parent that walked me through that. So hopefully through it helps a little bit with the kids. These kids deal with so much more than we ever did. Do. So we're talking about hate today, and you probably immediately thought, hey, we're going to talk about the hate that my wife receives on social media, which she does, which we will. But I also wanted to make sure and touch on what our kids deal with on a daily basis is it far exceeds what anything that we dealt with in a different way. And what I mean by that was, I'm 45, you're 44. When we were at school, we would get bullied or get mad or getting, some form of, I hate the word bully because I think it's overused. But when conflict happened, right, there was guys getting in a fight or girls being mean and stealing shoes and pulling hair and spreading rumor, whatever it was, right? When we went home, short of a landline phone call, someone calling to
which
dig in
very
deeper.
Likely could be long distance.
That's right.
Right.
If you lived in a small
Even
town.
if it's down the street.
That's right. Short of someone calling you on your landline, you are at least insulated from it for the night until the next day. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And a lot of times, by the next day, everybody's forgotten about it.
Or at least it wasn't as big a deal. Yeah. It's no different than in the coaching world. We always say, hey, if you have an issue with us, something that we've done in the field, or you have a problem that you want to discuss with us, wait 24 hours and then let's talk about it. Because by then you've probably cooled off, or your clearer heads have prevailed, or you realize, it was a big deal then, but it's really not that big of a deal. Yeah. Same philosophy going back to your youth. Like, things were such a big deal in the heat of the moment, right? You got embarrassed. especially things that you get embarrassed by, or somebody was threatening you, or whatever it was. It's a big deal in the moment, but usually 24 hours later, not as big a deal.
Right.
Not every circumstance is the same,
Right.
obviously, but nowadays, contrast that.
Right. And it goes back to, again, things that we haven't dealt with. I mean, we've dealt with bullying or mean kids at school, but it doesn't linger and follow us on our phones, into our homes, and,
They don't have a way of getting away from it.
They don't have a break from it. And one thing that I know, our parenting style has been, we've talked about those kinds of things with our kids, but I think it attributes back to the fact that, we've been on social media for 12 years. And so I have felt that before. I know what that feels like. I'm an adult, so I kind of process through it a little, obviously differently than a child does. But it's been a very open conversation in our home. And I think a large part of the reason as to why is because of what we've experienced, whereas other parents, maybe they're not on Snapchat or they're not on these different platforms and they don't understand the ins and outs of it. We have lived the ins and outs of it. And getting that ourselves, so we know that definitely happens and exists.
Yeah, so we've experienced it personally, and living in the social media eye, if you will. But the point I really wanted to drive home with the kiddos was that they do not get any reprieve from it.
No, they don't.
So they have that bad day, they have the embarrassing moment, they have someone pick on them, they get their boyfriend or girlfriend breaks up with them, there's rumors or whatever it is, and you don't get to go home into the safety of your home and get away from it because you're still glued to this little 4x5-inch device or whatever.
And even if your child's not glued to it, the rest of the kids are.
That's right.
Circulating.
Correct. And so they're on Snapchat, they're on Instagram, they're on whatever they're on.
People could make, the comment that, hey, well, I make my kids turn their phones off when they get home, so they're not part of that. But
I think almost no one does that.
But the reality is if you are that 1% parent that does that and makes your phone, kids put the phones down, at least for a moment, the other kids aren't having that same
not. Right. So the fire's still burning somewhere.
Yeah, so it's still being stoked somewhere. So by the time they pick that phone back up, it's there again. And I think too with social media, it can be such. And this is not the topic of our session today, but like it can be such a is it like a dopamine hit for kids and for adults too, social media, this feeling of like, oh, I got that like, I got that comment, I got this, and it feels really good. And it's an intermix of kind of crazy because you've got...
well, the opposite is also true.
Yeah, so you've
got... I didn't get this. I got the hate. I got the comment.
I got to pick that up because even though the hate and the stuff's out there, I need to find somebody on my side. So they're constantly looking for a reprieve from it, but they're constantly looking for an affirmation out of the same thing.
Yeah, so... I think that we as parents need to be sensitive to how prevalent that is and how strong of an impact that can have on all parts of your existence. Like there's a lot of emotional stress to that. And let's go back to you, for example. So in 2011, when you started in the social media, it wasn't anything like it is now. Nothing.
No.
There wasn't as many people. There wasn't as much business mixed with...
I think everybody was excited about social media.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It had an innocent beginning.
Yeah.
And as soon as it turned into a business, if you will, and got flooded with more and more people, things started changing. Now, and again, I want to be very clear about this because it's very easy to sit here and talk negatively about social media.
I love social media.
I love social media too, and I think that for us, I'll speak for us only, we see it as a place to be a positive in a dark place. And so there's plenty of negative out there. And I know specifically for you, you see that as part of like, hey, this is my ministry field. Yeah. I'm going to be a joyful, positive person in a place that is very negative, dark, and cold in some ways. And so I understand that. It's not lost on me. All of social media is not bad. It's like anything. It is what you make of it to an extent because you can't control all of it. But what you put in a lot of times is what you get out. Now, having said that, a lot of it isn't that way. You can't control. I would argue that you have over, 12, 13 years of being on social media, we've seen a drastic change in the way people address and treat you as your following has grown, right? It's almost as if people seek out people of influence so that they get that greater dopamine hit or whatever to be negative or mean or stupid or... Possibly. Honestly, what I feel like more times than not, it's people just trying to get attention.
Sure.
It's like, it's very remedial. It's almost like when you were a kid.
Kid in class that's being bad at
it. You act up because it's attention. One way or the other, you're getting attention.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or affirmation or argument. You're getting attention, and that's what you're seeking. I think a lot of it is that, like, we live and we've never been more connected as a society, and we've never been more lonely.
Right.
And so people are looking for anything they can to feel like they have connectivity, and a lot of times that's spewing hate. And I'm gonna be hating on you, and I'm gonna find people to join in with me or to argue with.
Yeah, for sure. They're at home, and that's their little hobby to sit and argue with.
Where it really crosses a different line is when, like, people will go out of their way to direct message you, like, negative, hateful stuff.
Right.
Like, so again, talk about.
Can I maybe, before you ask me that question, something that kind of crossed my mind was, you were talking about social media, and it kind of exploded. Well, not kind of, it did. And everybody's on, and they used to, the innocence of social media, and then it, became this business of social media or whatever. A lot of that, I think, the hate, the negativity, the people, the keyboard warriors, whatever you describe them to be.
Keyboard warriors. Hey, Tom Sawyer.
I think everybody has a problem with being envious of people.
Yeah.
And maybe thinking to themselves, because we always, we're selfish by nature, right? Sure. It's something that we fight against every day. We fight against our flesh every day to be selfless. But we wake up, we're inherently selfish. We want a cup of coffee because we're tired. We're wanting this because we're cold. It's those first wants first. And so if we get online and we have this selfish kind of thought process, we start scrolling and we start seeing things that are like, dang, well, must be nice. Dang, how did they do this? Dang, their life looks great. Now, it could just be, again, the highlight reel of a Christmas photo that 5 minutes before that photo was taken, all hell was breaking loose.
That's right.
Right? But it looked good in the moment.
That's right.
And your brain lies to you, even though you kind of know that's the highlight
Why
reel.
isn't my family like
Why
this?
isn't my family like this? Why isn't my family perfect? Why don't I look like that? And so it becomes kind of this envious, jealousy, lash out moment, I think, where the haters start to come in. It's not because they hate you. It's because they feel a deficiency in themselves, and they're looking at something that's not real, right? It is social media. It's kind of like going back to when I can't think of the term, when TV came out and all the reality TV.
Yeah.
When reality TV came out,
Early 2000s.
And my daughter and I did a reality TV series audition, and what's funny in that audition, we didn't make it because something hit.
Because you're too real, Lori. You're too real.
So anyway, the feedback was always like, can you make that a little bit more dramatic? I'm like, this is real, And so it kind of goes back to your eyes being open to reality TV is just, they feed on the highs and lows. And so when you go on social media and you look at the highlight reels, understand that's the highs, And so don't ever compare yourself to somebody else's highlight reel. And I think that comparison is the thief of joy that becomes the haters going to hate, and they find ways to hate on people when it's not even them to hate because it's not even real. It's like this vicious cycle. So that's kind of where my brain went, is like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Your brain went in a lot of places.
It did. It always does.
I don't even know what I was getting ready to say now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with that being said, it'll probably come back around. I think a lot of the hate, quote unquote, is not necessarily hate, is just a magnified reflection of how they're feeling inside. And a lot of it's probably stemmed in envy and jealousy, which is it definitely is the root of all evil, but it's also is very destructive in all areas of your life.
I don't know. I don't know if the majority of it stems in that. I mean, I believe we live in a fallen world, and it goes back to...
it's like keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
You used to have to open your door up and look outside, or go to an event and look at it and feel defeated about yourself. And now all you gotta do is pick up your phone, which you're expecting affirmations from your friends and not getting them and seeing it elsewhere. So
that's fair.
I don't know.
But to take that to the next level and message you about how you look, or about how your kids look, or what you're wearing, like, that's a next level of, like, I have a hard time. So this is where my brain goes. I've carried plenty of bitterness around in my life. Had kind of a rough childhood, and that has impacted me in plenty of different ways. Have been hurt by people my whole life, just like all of us could argue that we have, right? I understand those feelings, right? But even understanding those feelings, I can tell you that I've never sought someone out on social media to message them about how, hey, your teeth look ginormous today, or whatever, right? Your smile's crooked. What's wrong with your face? Like seriously, like I have plenty of bitterness.
God made me imperfect because I need him.
Okay.
Yeah,
but what gets someone from the point of, I understand the envy or jealousy or hurtness. I get it all.
But what is
that next step to go lash out?
Because again, it goes back to what we were just talking about. It goes back to they feel somewhat in control. So they're going to say all these things to make themselves feel better about themselves.
But do you like... If
I don't look like that.
If I sent that message, I would feel terrible.
I would too. But, maybe they just send it and get, and then maybe they get a message back like, oh, I didn't ever think you would see that.
Okay, you're going to laugh at this because I know you'll relate to it. So Lori does get hate messages all the time. And as her husband, so just bear with me for a second. As her husband, I try to pick those off before she sees them. It's not a perfect science because we have multiple places where messages are coming in. So I try to be the front runner. And I will respond to some of these people that are turds. And I come back guns blazing. Because that's my style. Like, again, I feel like 99.9% of the world, you would never say that to my face. And if you did say it to my face, then expect the consequence of your action. I genuinely believe that. Just like I believe that about myself. Yeah. If I was to say something completely ignorant to the wrong person's face, I should expect the consequence of my action, right? Okay. So I will say things back to people sometimes, and then I'm like, oh, I feel bad. And I was responding in defense, like justified.
But where does it end?
And I still feel bad.
Like,
I still feel bad. Like, you
where
evil
does it end?
old woman, why are you sending a message about how my wife looks? Are you kidding me?
Continue the cycle, it's this generational cycle of social media, yuck. And so again, we've been in this for 12 years and just had delivered a cap and gown for graduation.
Don't start with the
And I was like, I had this moment in my mind that says, wow, like it's this bittersweet moment of gratitude that we've been able to be home. My child, I said yes to working in social media when he went to kindergarten. And so from the time that he's been in kindergarten, we've been working from home, and it has its own challenges. Trust me, like so many of them. A lot of them. It's not for the weak of heart, that's for sure.
There's a lot of challenges.
There are a lot of challenges to working from home and working together. Yeah. Hey, said it to your face.
It's fine.
I didn't type it out.
I said it to your face.
It can be very challenging, but in that moment of feeling that gratitude, I can't but help be sad that like it's coming. That chapter's coming to a close. I know a new chapter's coming, but going back to like that kid has known his parents work on social media for 12 years, and we can be the change. So if you find yourself wanting to go right back at the hater, I just want to encourage you. There's a couple of things that just came to mind, and maybe you'll go back to what you were saying about in just a second. But there's a couple of things that you can do when you get a hater comment, or if somebody probably wouldn't say it to your face, but like you can you can absolutely throw positivity back, and it totally takes them off guard. Because usually if they're throwing some hate, because haters gonna hate. If they're throwing some shade at you, if they're throwing some hate at you, they're waiting for you to throw it back. And if you don't give them the fight, eventually it's gonna die down. Okay, so that's one.
I'm gonna argue that. So.
I know you will.
Okay.
Because if you let it fester and then other people jump on it,
yes,
right? So
it's like it opens the floodgate.
It does, and sometimes you have to say enough's enough, right? And there's.
So specifically, when someone just makes a comment, it's positivity breeds positivity, negativity breeds negativity. If you make a negative comment, like
guaranteed in 30 minutes,
there's going to be another one. There's going to be another one. It's the crazy on social media, on your stuff. If you allow the negative stuff to sit out there, more comes. Yeah. But if the positivity is out there, more comes.
So going back to what I was just saying, so if you don't want to repeat the cycle, try not to. I know it's hard, but try not to fuel that negativity with negativity because it breeds negativity. And so if you've got negativity versus positivity, one of those is going to come out. And so or a combination of both.
I know. Let me just tell you, guilt is a crazy little thing. Because here's the easiest solution in the world of social media when people are turds. Block them and move on. I mean, you've got almost 3 million followers across your platforms. Just block the trolls. I don't like to block
people.
I know
because I think people have a bad day and it's not a big deal. Like,
I know. And our life motto is never judge someone by their worst moment.
One negative comment is not going to kill me. It's fine. But here's the thing. It's like, I don't want... Culture is what you allow and what you create. I don't want to allow that on my platforms because it creates a culture of negativity. And I certainly don't want to create it. So I do my very best every day to wake up to not create negativity, even though I do feel very negative sometimes. I try not to post about that. I try to like overcome that. I try to share sides of it that if I'm having a bad moment, how I'm overcoming it. I try to never like just spew negativity.
And to mix the guilt pot up, when you just block people who are hurting, you never know. Like, you could have been the one person that they found Jesus through because, man, I've tried to hate this woman. I've tried to even be mean to her, and she's still super nice to me. Why is that?
Yep.
And so I feel bad. I feel guilty. Like, it's really easy to just block and move on. Like, that's my MO most of the time. But when you feel called to a higher calling, it's very difficult.
It's very hard.
I fail all the time with that because a lot of times I'm just like, this person is just seeking attention and is really trying to be the devil, and I'm just blocking and moving on. So I don't know what the right balance is there, but I will admit to you, I fail at that every single day because as a father, as a husband, I'm like, my defense mechanism kicks in. I'm like, I will just be throwing haymakers at people if they were here. And so like, I'm just going to block you and move on. Like,
but I think there's something said too for this generation, especially because of social media, has taught us so many good and terrible things. But it has made us a generation of people that don't know how to resolve conflict. They just walk away from it.
You can't resolve conflict 99 times out of 100 on social media.
Right.
We literally need to be face to face.
But if we grow up, saying just block them, then
I agree with that.
Then it creates this culture of being able to block people out of your life as you go.
What was that? Was
that a robot? I'm blocking people as I go. Then it creates like these boundaries of...
No, it creates a pattern.
A pattern is a better word. Yep. Of not being able to deal with conflict in a healthy way.
Correct. I agree with that.
And so there's a combination of
So what's the right answer? So here we are, we're just talking about it, but we don't have the right answers. Well, everything is so circumstantial. Agreed.
It is. I mean, every situation is just different. But, it's so funny, too. And this is not my original thought. It might be yours. So just so you know, if I took that thought from your brain.
The two shall become one, babe.
Okay, great. So you're a crazy busy mama, too. I love it. He's not laughing. Okay. So when you get a negative comment...
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you want to try to say something positive instead of throwing shade back. But what if you just come up with like a random fact?
Oh, I know. I've done that before in the past.
Something that doesn't even make sense.
Orange is my favorite color.
Or the tulips spring in the spring. Or did you know that shrimps don't have brains? Or crocodiles can't stick their tongue out.
It's still giving them the attention they want. That's the problem.
It is. But again...
Is that the best you got? Is that like, well...
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. I'm just really trying to... I'm trying to muzzle the beast, my friend. And
so again, it kind of goes back to, I think, when you throw something back that like kind of knocks them off and doesn't give them fuel for the fire.
So now let's apply that to the kids, because it's one thing for two adults to work through that, and even like I've said, and then back to the kiddos, like, so how many times have we heard the kids talk about, well, I just blocked them. Or somebody just blocked me. Somebody just left the chat and blocked us all.
They don't say block. They say unadd.
Whatever. It's because that's the Snapchat lingo.
They unadded me today.
But that, to your other point, that's teaching or not teaching people how to resolve conflict in a real way. But maybe that is the new reality. Okay, so I have mixed... We could probably talk about this for hours, because I've mixed things on that. Because when my kids tell me that so-and-so unadded me, I was like, well, that's on them. That's not you. If I know that, like,
they unadded them because they broke up, or they unadded them because they're not that circle of friends anymore, or they unadded whatever. Not that they were deliberately.
Fisher has a friend that's always blocking his
it's
girlfriend for a week and
unadding.
Then whatever, unadd.
But you don't. It's not like they're hating on each other, so that's a little bit different. It's not like the kids are out like
that's true.
Saying
it is
hate.
a little bit, but there is hate involved sometimes with that too.
Sure. But I think we're mixing stories there. I mean, like when people unadd in their lives have always been. They're unadding me because we're not in a relationship anymore. Or they're unadding me because I'm not sitting at lunch with them anymore. I'm like, well, that's on them, not you.
But that's almost like a passive-aggressive way of being a troll, or a passive-aggressive way of
You could also make the argument
shade.
that you always say, I can make the argument. You can make the argument that if you're blocking someone, they got the win. Because they know that it got to you.
Fair.
And so if you don't even pay attention, then they know that you didn't even take your energy on it. So this is a tough one.
Yeah, but it's no different than saying, well, I'm going to have one drink, and I'm not going to have 15 drinks, because I know at 15 drinks I'm drunk. But at one drink, I'm okay. So where do you draw the line? Where's the magic line in here?
I think you have to set your boundaries ahead of time.
So they didn't win if I had a drink. Did they win? So I don't know that I'm conceding that argument, that they won.
But they're, in their mindset, they could be like, he took the one drink, I won.
Okay, but I didn't take the 15.
And you won.
And I won. So I didn't come at you. I didn't say all these things that I regret saying. I just cut it off and we're done.
Is it a win or lose situation?
We're talking about... Isn't all of life winning and losing? Right?
It's a very...
No, I know.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of right answers, but it is important to talk through some of this stuff. And kind of the takeaway from this podcast we wanted to end with is this. Two things in my mind. One, be really sensitive to the stuff that your kids are dealing with. Because it's real.
Yeah.
It's not fictitious, and it's very easy for us as parents to be dismissive of it, because it's like, it's just social media. It's just jerk, just a kid at school being, but they don't ever get away from it.
Because it's not like they just get the hate or the mean kid in the cafeteria anymore. It's not just the lunch table anymore. It's not just the hallway where they're pushing you into your locker. It's like everywhere they go.
That's right. There's no
break from it.
And then the other thing we want to leave you with is it is extremely possible, and it may not be your calling, that's fair, and of course maybe you just have bad days, that's also fair, but it is extremely possible to be a light in a world of darkness by just not being a jerk. I edited myself. I know you're getting nervous. You were looking at me and saying, don't say
Jackwagon?
Don't be a jerk on social media. Yeah. Don't be mean to people. You don't have to go out of your way to be Saint Teresa, okay? But you can go out of your way to just not be an idiot and to be a jerk and to send direct message or seek people out just to throw shade on their... It's weird, right?
Yeah.
It's not hard to not do those things.
No, it's not. Maybe take it a step further. If you're still watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, I want you to take a challenge. And I want you to reach out to somebody today that you wouldn't normally and just say something positive in their life. Because I truly believe that in life, you can speak life. In Scripture, it talks about speaking life and death as lies in the power of your tongue. You can either build castles or dig graves. And you, my friends, you get the choice in the matter. So, whatever you say will build castles in someone's life, brick by brick, or it will be very destructive and start digging graves for them. So as Toby Mac might say, speak life, speak life. It's true. You never know what that person's going through on the other side. So if they're throwing hate, try not to throw it back. Just give them some grace. Love them. Give them a random fact. Block them if you need to. It's a tough one. But don't feed the trolls. Okay, episode 8, feeling our way forward. Haters are gonna hate. But lovers are gonna love. Is that what it is? That's right. Haters gonna hate, but lovers are gonna love. Episode 8 is out.